How long before you'd tap out? An hour? A week? You wake before dawn in a stone chamber you can't warm with a switch. A maid brings the rushlight. You pull on a cool linen shift, then wool, then laces that take a second pair of hands. The chapel bell call. Prayers come before breakfast, and breakfast may be yesterday's bread alone. By candle and window slit, you open the account roll. A steward, a cook, and the chamberlain's boy queue for orders. That's the first hour of a noblewoman's day. Status, yes. Comfort, not guaranteed. Because the job isn't princess, it's manager, diplomat, and dynastic engine. You supervise stores, tenants, textiles, sick room, and a nursery that may grow fast. Marriage likely arrived in your mid-teens. Childbirth risks stack with every pregnancy. Per-birth danger sits around 1%, which compounds quickly over 6 or 10. Household mouths range from 12 to 100. Fast days can top 140 in a year. War and plague do not request appointments. You smile through dinners fragrant with cloves and smoke, then balance ledgers by rushlight while fleas make their own claim. Between the feast and the fast runs the life most of us don't picture. Here's the plan. We'll walk through one full day, winter to summer, from the bell at Lauds to the last ember, and we'll stop to test the internet's favorite myths along the way. No, people didn't all stink. And no, average lifespan doesn't mean everyone died at 35. Expect tactile detail, names, dates, and numbers you can pin to a map, plus a clear verdict at the end. Could you survive her life, not just admire her wardrobe? If you're game, lace up. Before we step fully into her shoes, we need the time, place, and stakes pinned down.
Let's pin them down. Our stage is Western Europe between 1200 and 1500, England and the Marches, France and Burgundy, the merchant-rich cities of northern Italy. Noblewoman spans a baron's lady running a fortified manor, and the countess orbiting a court with chaplains, clerks, and cooks. Calendar bells rule the day, seasons rule the menu, roads are slow, letters sealed in wax, and news arrives on horseback. Depending on decade and district, she sleeps behind timbered screens or under vaults, but the through line is rank tied to responsibility, not leisure. Her core job is dynastic. She produces heirs, stewards lands through stewards and reeves, and knits alliances with hospitality, patronage, and gifts. The bill for failure is steep. Property settlements can be clawed back, rivals edge in, and a widow without strong dower or kin can be parked on short rations. Adult risk clusters around childbirth and infection. Life expectancy at birth looks low because babies die. A woman who reaches 15 can live into her 40s or 50s if disease, accident, or childbirth doesn't cut the line. Noble brides often marry in their mid-teens, and per-birth maternal risk hovers around 1% or a bit more. Stack that across 6, 8, or 10 pregnancies, and the cumulative odds begin to feel brutal. Region matters. English common law leans toward coverture and dower. Parts of France and Italy use Roman law dowry regimes and urban notaries. The texture of agency changes with the paperwork. Politics matters too. The 100 Years' War, Italian city feuds, and waves of plague push households to move, ration, or host soldiers at short notice. Why now? Because medieval isn't one mood board, it's centuries. Narrowing the frame lets us test myths against receipts, not vibes, and judge survival with numbers, not nostalgia. With the map set, let's start at dawn, inside her house and body, together.
Louds in the chapel, breath fogging the nave, then back over cold flags to dress. Cool linen next to skin, a wool kirtle, laces tugged by maid, a mantle if the wind crawls under the door. The girdle at your waist carries key, pantry, still room, treasury, that chime as you step into the hall. The steward waits with the account roll. You audit grain in the bin, ale due from the next brew day, salt for salting trout, wax versus cheaper tallow for candle. Orders go to bakehouse, dairy, stable. You check textile, sick room, and nursery. A clerk drafts 2 letters, one to a tenant about arrears, another to a cousin about a marriage rumor, and reads them back for your seal. Comfort looks plush at first glance. A feather mattress, bolsters, and bed curtains that keep drafts from your face. A warming pan might chase the damp from sheets in winter. Then the seams show. Smoke eddies from the hearth. Fleas ride the rushes underfoot, and the garderobe drops to a cesspit that needs its turn with the night soil men. Bathing happens in a lined wooden tub filled by boys with buckets. Soap is lye and tallow, or a lather coaxed from ash and soapwort, and a fresh linen shift does most of the daily work. No tap, no flush, no thermostat, only braziers, shutters, and horn or oiled linen at the window to bully the weather back on winter morning. Meals set the rhythm. Bread, often muslin, wheat mixed with rye, anchors every table. Small ale or watered wine stands in for safe sip. Pottage of peas, leeks, and kale. Repeat. Cheese and butter fill gap. Fast days, about 140, swap meat for salted herring. Feasts flash color, venison, capon, cinnamon, sugar. But most days are thrift. Clothes heed sumptuary line. Linen shift, wool kirtle, sleeve, silk, or fur. Cuts favor motion. She manages, not lounges. House disciplines body. Law disciplines her power.
And the law is waiting at the threshold. Under English common law, coverture folds a married woman's legal person into her husband's. She cannot sue or be sued in her own name. Yet that world expects her to act as a state manager, castellan when men ride to war, even regent if blood and circumstance decree it. Across 1200 to 1500, ladies issue orders, pay garrison, audit reeves, and keep keys to granaries and gates. What lets her do that is paper and property. Marriage settlements split assets 3 ways. A dowry, her family's transfer, moves into his line. Dower, or, by the 15th century, jointure, secures her maintenance if widowed. In England, widows' thirds, a life interest in 1/3 of the husband's freehold, are common. In parts of France and northern Italy, notarial contracts detail dot and douer with precision. A strong settlement buys room to maneuver. A weak one buys dependence. Agency lives in the practice. Read Margaret Paston's letters from 1440s to 1470s Norfolk. She summons tenants, rebukes officials, hires counsel, and seals writs while her husband rides circuits. She knows the manorial court day, who owes how many capons, which hedge was cut without leave. If armed men threaten, she locks the doors and musters servants. None of that cancels coverture. It works around it, with witnesses, seals, and kin standing near. Famous figures tempt us to overstate. Eleanor of Aquitaine, Isabella of France, Blanche of Castile. Real power, but through lands, heirs, and councils, not freewheeling autonomy. Region matters again. London sometimes recognized a femme sole merchant. Italian cities let women contract through notaries. Monasteries sheltered female property. Authority is real, but contingent, a negotiation with stewards, kin, clergy, and crown that never quite ends. And from that negotiation flows the bedchamber contract, the arithmetic of lineage, bodies, and risk, where we're headed next. The arithmetic, not the ballad. Truly, marriage is a contract that stitches land. Affection helps, but it isn't the point. Church law polices kin lines. After 1215, unions within the fourth degree need dispensation, and nobles wed young to seal bargain. A 14-year-old bride might move to his household, yet delay consummation. Paperwork rule, dowry transferred, dower set, banns called, witnesses named, and a priest ratifies consent that binds two families tighter than silk. Sex here follows calendars as much as desire. Confessors forbid relations on major feasts, in Lent and Advent, during menstruation, and after childbirth until purification. Couples bend rules, but the rhythm is public. Heirs are the mission, yet timing belongs to church, season, and household. Who's traveling, who's ill, whether peace holds, whether a prior miscarriage argues waiting another month. Did they try to avoid conception? Manuals mention withdrawal, counting days, and pessaries or drafts with rue, pennyroyal, or savin. Results were unreliable, dangers real, and morals contested. Midwives tread carefully. Some couples chose abstinence, some courted relic. For modern ears, these recipes are hazardous history, not advice. Pregnancy is where the ledger bites. Per birth, a mother's chance of dying sits around 1 to 1.5%. Repeat that across 6, 8, or 12, and the curve steepens. Infants die often. Mothers face obstructed labor, hemorrhage, and childbed fever. Midwives bring skill, herbs and calm. Charms and relics ride alongside. A lying-in chamber is warmed, windows curtained, linen scalded when fuel and time allow. After a delivery comes churching, the formal return to public life, and a wet nurse, if rank and milk supply require it. You might survive one birth. Could you face 10, with famine years and epidemics threading the decade? Between pregnancies and politics, she must still provision a household and impress allies at table. Between pregnancies and politics, the office is the pantry. Her workday is provisioning, grain tallied in quarters, malt booked for the next brew, salt stacked for salting tub. The dairy needs rennet and a cool room. The kitchen garden wants rotations and seed saved from last year's leeks. She and the steward read the account roll, then walk the storeroom, counting loaves, smoked bacon, candles, pepper, saffron, and the wax that keeps winter evenings bright. Good houses run on conversion rates. How many mouths? How many loaves per sack? How many candles to reach December? On small manors, that's a dozen people. In rich seasons, with guests, retainers, and hired men, 100 plates is normal. Weather and war punch holes in neat math. Today's plan must fit next month's harvest and the fasting calendar. Fast days change the cart. She orders barrels of salted herring, stockfish that needs days of soaking, cured eels from the fens, almond milk for lean day potages. Brewing cycles keep small ale wholesome. Empty casks means someone missed the calendar. She bargains within guild limits for cheese and butter, mines the granary against rats, and decides whether wax or cheaper tallow will light the hall. Feast days flip the switch. The board blooms with trenchers, venison, capon, frumenti, and hippocras. Sugar subtleties parade as edible diplomacy, and spices read like heraldry. Yet behind the spectacle, it's repair and grind. Spits, trestles, and chimneys mended, linen scalded, knives whetted. In lean years she trims portions, stretches pottage, cuts to bone, and opens the dole chest, knowing alms can buy peace. Town days add friction, permits, carts and ferries to court or pilgrimage, beds booked ahead, gift-giving oils alliances, cured eels, hippocras, and a bolt of kersey measured in ells. Remember that machinery as we tackle the internet's myths. Quick reality check. Medieval people never bathed, right? Not if you had rank or a decent supply. Elites kept lined tubs and paid boys to haul hot water. Bathhouses thrived in many cities until moral panics or plagues shut some. Linen did the daily lifting. A fresh shift wicked sweat and oils, so washing cloth often cleaned the body. Did everyone smell like frankincense? No. Fires, animals, and people made strong air, but hygiene was practiced, valued, and seasonal, not imaginary. Average lifespan was 35. That's a mean crushed by infant deaths. Ask a better question. If a woman reached 15, how long could she live? Often into her 40s or 50s, sometimes beyond, unless plague, accident, or childbirth intervene. Per birth, maternal risk sits around 1 to 1.5%. Repeat pregnancies spike lifetime danger. Longevity existed, so did brutal variants few of us have faced. Chastity belt kept wives faithful. Museums loved them. Medieval sources don't. Most are Renaissance curiosities, stage props, or 19th century inventions miscatalogued as older. Real control came from surveillance, kin, and the economics of dower and dowry, not padlocks under a gown. And the water panic? People drank small ale and weak wine for calories and mild safety, but they also drew from wells, conduits, cisterns, and springs. Water quality varied by neighborhood, season, and upstream habits. Nuance beats meme. The noblewoman's world mixed comfort with constraint, cleanliness with smoke, risk with resilience. Now that the fog has thinned, let's swap claims for solid tools. I'll show you how to vet a headline against a ledger, build a regional timeline, and try a safe day in her life without fasting yourself faint or boiling herbs in your apartment. Ready to test, not just trust?
Here is how to turn curiosity into evidence. Pick a tight frame, say England 1350 to 1450, and sketch a one-page timeline. Note wars, plagues, law changes, and one household you can actually name. Then cross-check 3 voices, a letter or account roll, a statute or household ordinance, and a recent study that synthesizes them. When 2 disagree, pause and ask who wrote it, when, for whom, and with what stake. A scribe defending fees sounds different from a widow defending dower. Keep a mini glossary, dower, jointure, wardship, because half the mystery is vocabulary, and fluency turns fog into shape. Now test your model safely. Run a Lady of the Manor day, wake at dawn, layer linen and wool equivalents, and keep a ledger of every task you do for others. Meals, cleaning, messages, small diplomacy. Cook a fish day menu on a budget you set the night before. Stockfish or tinned herring, peas potted, rye bread, and a non-alcoholic stand-in for small ale. Handwrite 2 letters, one practical and one political, and time the work. Skip hazardous reenactments. No herbal dosing, no fasting without medical clearance, and no open flame experiments indoors. The point is logistics and attention, not pain. You're measuring rhythm, not proving toughness. Touring a site, treat it like a lab. Stand in the great hall and follow the draft to its exit. Trace steps from kitchen to high table to buttery. Count yards to water and the climb to latrine. Notice light at noon versus dusk and where smoke collect. Reconstructed spaces are gold, but online manuscripts help too. Browse British Library, BNF, or Vatican collection for household ordinances, letters, and images to calibrate your eye. Take notes in a simple number sheet. Fast days per year, household size, grain per person per week, ages at marriage and first birth. Clarity beats memes. Zoom out. Step back from the ledger and the linen. What did we say? Status without autonomy, warmth without a thermostat, ceremony braided to risk. A noblewoman's day runs on alliances and accounts, bells and bodies, keys at her girdle, steward at the door, drafts under the bed curtains, prayers before orders. She is manager, diplomat, dynastic engine, comfort surfaces, feather mattress, spiced wine, then the seams pull, smoke in the rafters, fleas in the rushes, a cesspit under the garderobe, a bath when water can be spared to haul it. Food tells the truth. Feasts glitter with venison and sugar, but fast and abstinence days outnumber them. Stockfish soaks while budgets shrink. Clothing flatters rank, yet frees movement, because work is supervision, not idleness. Law frames the margins of every decision. Coverture, dower, jointure, notaries, witnesses, seals. Marriage binds lands, and also her body. Midwives, relics, and lying in fight for inches, while per-birth risk repeats and compounds over 2 decades. Power exists, but it flows through property and kin, not freedom. The myths trimmed, people bathed, especially elites. Linen did daily labor. Water could be drunk from good sources. Average age isn't a death sentence at 35. Chastity belts are fantasy. That doesn't romanticize the past. It simply sharpens the silhouette. The grind is real. Glamour is periodic. The calendar always wins. So the question isn't, could you survive a day? It's, could you repeat it year after year under law, calendar, and kin through 6, 10, maybe 12 pregnancies, 2 bad harvests, sudden war, and the slow drag of negotiations? Hold one line: gilded life, iron rule. If you felt the draft at your ankles, you're ready for the verdict. Your turn. Measure yourself against her realities and share what would break you first.
You've walked the halls and felt the draft. Now step from watcher to participant. Tell me in the comments, which reality would break you first? The cold, the childbirth risk, the politics, or the fasting calendar? Add your region too. Are you picturing England's damp stone, Burgundy's court circuits, an Italian city household, or Iberian borderland? The more specific you get, the better we can tailor the follow-up and compare how law and climate bent daily life. Grab the free PDF in the description, Lady of the Manor Starter Pack. It's a 1-page timeline you can mark for your chosen region, a household day checklist you can actually try, and a short source list with tips for weighing them without getting lost in jargon. Print it, share it, argue with it. If you're teaching, it doubles as a quick activity. If you're just curious, it's your map from vibe to evidence. Vote in the poll for our next deep dive. Do we trace a peasant's year through rents and hunger? Step inside a nun's enclosure and patronage networks? Or shadow a merchant's wife balancing accounts between guild rules and sea schedules? Your clicks steer the series, and your stories in the comments will shape the questions we ask on site. Post your favorite sources, book recs, and site tips so others can dig deeper too. If this sharpened your picture of the Middle Ages, tap like, subscribe, and send this to the friend who still believes in chastity belts. New episodes drop twice a month, with site visits when possible, and digital manuscript tours when not. I read every top comment and pin smart correction. Thanks for walking the day with her. Now take the wheel and tell us where to go next.